Hello, America. 3 billion people were just turned to ash, but we blew up the aliens, so this is a time to come together under our common humanity. And no, stop looting. Damn it. When I created the scenario involving Independence Day, I figured it would be a one-off topic. But so many people requested I dive deeper into the scenario, I thought, hey, why not? In part 2, I'm not putting more years onto the scenario, considering how, well, everyone dies when the aliens do come back. But I can focus more in detail of this world before the death and destruction. Mostly, this is going into detail about how badly everything truly would get. If you haven't seen part 1, click here. If you have, let's continue. As I said before, when the aliens attacked, they killed over 3 billion people. By mapping out what cities they attacked, it's easy to assume most of the damage went to North America, Europe, and East Asia, with the nations of these regions falling into mass anarchy, civil war, or some other form of social unrest. The balance of power in the world shifts to the less affected regions of the world, like the Southern Hemisphere. Don't imagine some Chilean empire or anything. The Northern Hemisphere now sees smaller nations, surrounded by rubble and destruction. It was bombed so heavily, the Southern Hemisphere just becomes the new leaders by default. The Latin American countries are unable to successfully stop riots and looting following the attacks. To be fair, no country can in this alternate timeline. Without trade and a working economy, what can countries do to curb the violence? Nothing. Without trade or a good economy, cities become overpopulated centers of starvation and crime. Without trade, resources like oil, petroleum, and metals quickly begin to run low. Millions of barrels of oil aren't being shipped across the globe, so car travel slowly dwindles. This further localizes and isolates pockets of humanity. So do you want to be a successful community or nation in this new world? Any problems that were ongoing before the aliens, say an insurgency, ethnic tension, or drug trafficking, just become 10 times worse. Economic collapse and anarchy make it a tad harder for national governments to do their job. Drug cartels and trafficking expand in Colombia and Central America. Outlaw groups carve up territory for themselves. Cartels take over as the Mexican government falls. People need food, but people also need to be where food is easy to access and plentiful. In our modern age, transportation and trade has allowed people to live in places they previously wouldn't. In this alternate timeline, people from the Caribbean, American Southwest, and North Canada migrate to the low-populated and fertile lands of the American Great Plains. Or they'll try. How local governments react to new mouths to feed is up to your imagination. Going across the globe to sub-Saharan Africa, at best, things would remain the same. At worst, complete collapse. If nations would collapse across the globe, it's doubtful the artificial borders of sub-Saharan Africa could survive in this alternate timeline. Famines sprout up across sub-Saharan Africa, millions potentially now at risk of starvation. Apart from the collapse of nations, society doesn't rapidly change as it did in the West or in East Asia, except for the alien enclave in the center of Africa. What? In the series timeline, aliens were able to land and fight for a decade in the center of Africa, yet somehow were beaten back by African warlords. In a realistic timeline, the aliens kill everyone they see. I don't know the specifics of what aliens need to eat or anything, but from simply a militaristic standpoint, AK-47s versus what these guns are don't lead to the best outcome. In this alternate timeline, the countries that would be best off is Australia and New Zealand. Both countries are low populated, generally free of major crime, and have no deep conflicts which would result in civil war if everything went badly. But from a food standpoint, both countries easily could sustain themselves had trade shut down. Both countries' capital cities remained unharmed by the attacks, and so governments stay functional. So, congrats Aussies and Kiwis, in this new world, you're most likely the new powers. Until aliens blow everyone up. This is simply one scenario, and added some context to my previous video. We'll never truly know what would happen had, say, aliens actually did attack, but it's fun to theorize. If you are interested in seeing humans and aliens fight, then check out the new mobile game Independence Day Extinction. My friend from AppFind made a review about the game, so go check that out. This is Cody of Alternate History Hub.